and this might be a controversial hot take, I feel that it can become quite intense to just stare into someone's eyes for the whole conversation. We don't really want to be in a position where something has gone wrong for us prior to taking action. God knows we can all do with that sometimes. This move really helps to preserve our children's innocence. Maybe what I was saying wasn't that interesting after all. There are some easy actions to take here in my opinion. Welcome back to Real People Real Talk. My name is Bobby, and if you're new here, welcome. This channel is dedicated to making life that little bit easier by talking about everyday scenarios and figuring out how to learn from the experiences and become just a little bit better every day. In this video, I want to share some of the conversations I've had with friends and family over the last week. We will touch on the big tech lawsuit from a few weeks ago, some parenting insights, and showing people that we are listening. I'm hoping that by sharing some of these conversations, we can learn something new and maybe implement some changes that will make it easier for us going forward. We actually had a gathering last week, bringing a lot of our friends and family together to celebrate my sister visiting from overseas. I'm keen to share some of the things that I've learned to potentially help you in your everyday lives too. Quite early on during our party, the conversation turned to the big tech lawsuit that happened at the end of March. A lot of my friends were intrigued about the idea that a young lady managed to take Meta and YouTube to court and win a settlement of $6 million. The court case has been hailed as a landmark loss for the tech giants and is a very interesting thing to look at. Let me give you some context. In this case, a 20-year-old woman named Kaylee sues Meta, YouTube, Snap and TikTok for causing her mental health distress due to what she calls their addictive products. It's important to note that both TikTok and Snap decided to settle this case before it went to trial, but the details of the settlement are unknown. This leaves Google and Meta to face off in court with Kaylee. Kaylee states that she's been using social media from the age of 6. This is the time she started to watch YouTube. I wasn't able to find out whether this was YouTube Kids or the actual YouTube, but her video watching time started then. She says that she then started to use Instagram from the age of 9 and since then used all of these platforms for the majority of her day, even stating that one day she spent 16 hours on Instagram. She goes on to say that there was times where she would take breaks from work just to find time to scroll on these apps and felt like it was an addiction. Kaylee said that she stopped engaging with family because she was spending all of her time on social media. She also went on to say that at age 10, she started to feel anxiety and depression, feelings that were later diagnosed by a therapist. Her uses of Instagram also saw her experiment with filters nearly as soon as she started to use the platform aged 9, actions that later made her slightly obsessive about her appearance. Kaylee has since been diagnosed with body dysmorphia. All of this sounds pretty damn scary, especially because my daughter is 8 years old, 1 year and 7 months away from being the age that Kaylee started to feel depression and anxiety. What's even scarier though is the responses from the spokespeople at the tech firms, one calling Kaylee's app usage problematic rather than an addiction, and another saying that their platform keeps children safe when children under the age of 13 aren't supposed to be able to get on these platforms in the first place. Kaylee's lawyers argued that features such as infinite scroll and autoplay were the driving factors for Kaylee's addiction, and it would be hard not to agree that those features were created to keep eyeballs on these platforms for longer. Do you remember early on in the social media days? You would scroll through your Instagram feed and at some point, pretty quickly, you will come across a system message that said, "You're all caught up." That was 2018 and it was actually introduced to combat excessive smartphone usage. Sadly, the sentiment only lasted for 2 years because in 2020, we got suggested posts. Even though you may be all caught up, we are just going to show you some other things you may be interested in based on what we have learned about you. Facebook actually introduced algorithmic infinite scroll as early as 2011, with most other social media platforms following around 2016. YouTube released autoplay in 2015 as an initial rollout and it became available for all mobile users in 2018. Videos really took over the whole world around 2020, when YouTube Shorts were introduced just after TikTok gained global popularity in 2018. These features have certainly reduced the friction we may experience in finding content to consume, and I can see how it may get to a point where it could be addictive. What is the point of talking about this? I mean, we have lived with these social media and video hosting apps for more than a decade. Yes, we have. But the point is the children. Just as Kaylee at age 9, being exposed to these highly engineered apps that are designed to keep you watching, we have children growing up within this time that we have to look out for. Let's go back to this trial. Kaylee won. She managed to convince the jury that these features were addictive, that the app she was using had an impact on her mental health and also how she felt about her appearance. This is, at the moment, a rare case. There has been numerous occasions where parents have spoken out with similar concerns, and in some instances with fatal outcomes where sadly, young people have taken their own lives. Unfortunately, in previous cases, there hasn't been a win over the tech companies, as there has been this time around. When I look at the situation, I do feel like things will change now. For companies, governance usually happens when things go wrong. In order to avoid repeat trials like this, some changes will be made by the tech giants in order to cover themselves against future lawsuits. I would love to say that things will end up better for us and our children because of it, but there isn't really a guarantee for that. Therefore, I think there is some work for us all to do. We don't really want to be in a position where something has gone wrong for us prior to taking action. We really want to be proactive here and avoid our young children feeling anxious, depressed, obsessed about their appearance, or addicted to apps. I guess the same goes for us too as users of these platforms. I can't help but think that it all starts with strengthening our brains, having systems in place and ensuring there is oversight for our children. I get it. The verdict was positive for Kaylee, and this might be a controversial hot take, but having Instagram access at age 9 is crazy to me. The idea of having access to the whole of YouTube at age 6 is also pretty mad, but due to not being sure whether this was YouTube Kids or the standard YouTube app, I can't really comment on this. The fact that we have infinite scroll, suggested content that will continue to show you more and more of the thing you're interested in, and the fact that you can watch short form videos endlessly is problematic, of course. But I do think that whilst the social media apps and the governments take the actions they need to take, we still need to take some actions as parents and users. For social media app creators, well, the number one thing they need to do is get this age thing right. If the minimum age is 13, then access to these apps should not be permitted unless there is confirmation that the age limit has been met. And for anyone under 18, the content should be controlled by the parents. We almost need the child profile to be linked to the parent profile so that all content can be reviewed if necessary. Sounds pretty tedious, right? I know. I think it would be easier just to say no social media before 16. That brings me on to the government. In December last year, Australia ruled that the minimum age for social media will increase to 16 across the continent. I've heard that France is also looking to implement this imminently. I think that we should have this as a blanket ruling for all countries across the world. This move really helps to preserve our children's innocence. I'm really not sure what benefit is being achieved by having access to these apps before the age of 16, let alone before the age of 13. Happy to hear counter-arguments though, so if you think there is some valid reasons, then please let me know in the comments. And as for us as parents, if the before-mentioned changes take a while to come through, I think we really just have to ask ourselves a hard-hitting question. Do we want a social media platform to have a hand in raising our children? Unfortunately, that is what I think is happening here. Allowing our children to have access to a wide array of content will inadvertently leave an imprint on them, influence their behaviors, actions and choices, and of course, just as in Kaylee's case, have an impact on mental health and self-esteem. There is a number of things we can do, ranging from reviewing their screen time info, approving the apps that can be downloaded to their phones, and overseeing the content that they consume. And for us as users, it all comes down to whether or not we are happy with the amount of time and attention we give to the activity of content consumption. If you're in control, then fantastic. But just like the tagline goes for gambling, when the fun stops, stop. This case is no different to what happened with tobacco, where we saw the large warning messages on the tobacco products talking about addiction and harm to health. Not sure if the tech companies will adopt warning messages because of it, but something will change for sure. Let's see if we can learn from this and make some changes of our own to have better outcomes going forward. There's lots of content out there that promotes learning, helps strengthen skills, or is entertaining without really causing any harm. I still get very happy when I look over my children's shoulders here and there and see some of that being consumed. Talking about children on the internet, during our gathering the conversation turned to my last video where I gave my thoughts on the new Netflix documentary on the manosphere. I was talking to some of our friends about the impact of the internet on our children, especially the content creators they like to watch. We talked about how scary it is that our children pick up the things that are said and the behaviors that are displayed. I've already given my thoughts on the subject of streamers. If you haven't seen the video yet, please check it out. I really think we need to have more oversight as parents, and I know it's hard, especially in this day and age, because when we put a screen in front of our children, we get a few moments of peace and quiet. God knows we can all do with that sometimes. For me though, I always like to remind myself that I have more than just one job in life, and the job of raising these children has to be taken seriously. Of course, I do get into situations where I'm not always there to check and see what's being watched. I trust the YouTube Kids app to not show my children anything other than the age setting related content I have put on their profile. And so I try and be more in tune with what they say and do to see if there's a change I don't agree with. It's not the best solution, especially because YouTube Kids says there is no shorts, but I've seen shorts creators just bundle 50 shorts into a long form video and one after the other and add it to the platform. This, I guess, is where my guidance comes in, and I tell my children that they should be purposeful about the content they choose. They should look for something that teaches them something and that is interesting. It's a tough spot to be in. I would love to hear what you do as parents to make sure your children are getting the right energy online. Please let me know in the comments. I look forward to reading some of your thoughts. I also had a great conversation with my sister about showing people that you're listening to what they say. I've spoken quite extensively on this channel about the importance of communication as well as the necessity to listen, just as well as we speak. We spoke about eye contact and whether that is the driving factor for signaling that you listen. Interestingly, research suggests that it's women who care more about eye contact than men, whereas men are more influenced by touch. That would mean that when a man is listening to a woman, maintaining eye contact will help to make that lady feel more heard, whereas for a man, there will be other signaling methods to show that we are listening. It was really interesting because for me, if someone isn't looking at me while I speak, it does make me question whether or not the information I'm speaking is being received. I think paying attention to this is important because the best conversations are had when you make the other person feel interesting. In order to achieve that, we would have to signal that we are listening. I myself struggle with eye contact sometimes. I feel that it can become quite intense to just stare into someone's eyes for the whole conversation. And I also think I like looking elsewhere as I gather my thoughts to make a point. Plus, you kind of have to choose which eye you're looking at, right? Otherwise, it just looks like your eyes are darting from left to right at the time. There is some easy actions to take here, in my opinion. Wherever we choose to look, we should come back to the face and the eyes every so often. I tend to do more eye contact when the other person is talking, and a little less when I'm talking, but I still try and come back to the eye contact at some point. The issue arises when we continuously avert our gaze to make it feel like we're interested in something else in the vicinity. And if we are, that's not really a problem. We should just say apologies. Looks like the kids are going a little crazy. Just want to make sure no one hurts themselves. The other easy thing, leave the phone out of the conversation. I think we all sometimes think we can do 2 things at once, and maybe we can, but it will for damn sure signal that we aren't really listening. And the last thing I've learned is not to interrupt, even if it feels like we should correct something then and there. To really show interest in what is being said fully, I have found it's better to let the other person finish. When we then get to say our piece, it will be received better rather than potential defense of you didn't let me finish talking. Plus, I love having the ability to say I heard you out, so now please hear me out too. If we get this right, not only can we be interesting when we talk and tell stories, we can also make the other person feel interesting by being interested in what they have to say. Sadly, I think with the attention crisis nowadays, we are losing the art of listening, and all the things we see online are about how to speak better so people will listen. But I do think that we can do a little bit more to listen better too. So many great relationships would be unlocked by working on that skill. You may ask, what do we do when we are putting the work in to listen, but the person we are speaking to isn't matching their energy? Well, what I've started to do is to just stop speaking if I feel as though I'm not being listened to. This helps me to understand whether or not it is wasted. If the person then looks at me and says, go on, then there is a reset and we continue. If they have no idea I stopped talking, then my prediction was right and we just move on. Maybe what I was saying wasn't that interesting after all. There you have it, my friends. Another week of updates. I hope you found some of it useful. If you have, please let me know by liking this video. I feel that some of the things we covered today will create some varying opinions. Please do share them with me. I would love to see what you think about some of these things. I'll see you in the comments section. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. Not only is it free, it is actually the #1 way to support this channel, and it shows me that I'm on the right track with the content I'm bringing to you. My name is Bobby, and this is Real People Real Talk. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.